and welcome to the Unsure to Unstoppable podcast. My name is James Dunn, and I was adopted. I grew up in a household with an alcoholic father, and I was arrested for attempted armed robbery when I was 17 years old. Why do I share that with you in this podcast introduction? Well, because while you may not have gone through any one of those specific set of circumstances yourself, you've had your own version of them, whether it's a loss of a job, a divorce, you were picked on as a kid. Something in your life has created this little voice in the back of your head that's made you doubt yourself, question yourself and what you're truly capable of. As a podcast host and as a mindset coach, what I do is I help you tell that little voice in the back of your head to shut the fuck up, get out of your own way, and move from unsure to unstoppable. And how I plan to do that is each week I'm going to bring you stories of inspiration, motivation, my own challenges, my own struggles, as well as those of others who've gone through challenging times, rough times, things that most people maybe just didn't think they could ever get through, but have not only gone through them, but come out thriving on the other side of them. And through the sharing of those stories, I hope to help you see that you're not alone in this journey called life. Whatever you've gone through, whatever challenges you're having right now, it doesn't matter. You are a fucking badass and you deserve an amazing, incredible life. And we're going to help you get there. So with that, enjoy today's show. All right, everybody, welcome to the show. First off, let me say welcome, Amanda. How are you today?
Thank you for having me. I am so good. I'm so excited to be here. I've loved our pre-conversation to the conversation, so it's perfect.
It has been fun and yes, interesting. And yeah, so this is one of the things I'll kind of explain it to you as I explain it to people who are listening to this episode, because this is my very first quote unquote interview episode for my podcast. As I've shared in the past, I had a podcast way back when and had people on there, but I never actually did an actual interview or maybe, led a conversation. So this is all going to be weird and scary, and I don't know how it's going to go. It may burn up in flames. Who the fuck knows? But I figured if I'm going to have somebody on here that's going to help me, Amanda, you always have a fun, outgoing attitude. I'm like, let's just have some fun with it. And if it works amazingly, great. If it works like not good at all, well, then that's okay too. We'll just have fun with it, and that's what it'll turn out to be.
Right. I'm here for all of it. It's perfect.
Awesome. So the goal with this podcast, it's a brand new podcast, started it very recently, and I don't know for sure how much I shared with you when I reached out to you and asked you to be on the podcast, but the goal of the podcast is, so for me, one of the biggest transformations I had in my life was going to a Tony Robbins event, connecting with people who were like-minded, but more specifically, hearing them share their stories of struggles and challenges and the things they had gone through and the things they were going through, but still being able to be productive, and not just productive, be happy and living life and loving life and creating the life that they wanted to live, which was something that I knew on a surface level. Like I've been reading the books, studying all the things, and knew that those things were possible, but to actually do it was a whole nother level, that I wasn't achieving. And talking to people and hearing their stories, it opened that door for me. And so that's why I decided I wanted to start this podcast. Was let's start sharing more of those stories. Let's start having conversations and getting these stories out into the world of things that, I've gone through, or people like yourself have gone through, and other people have gone through. Because when I was hearing other people share their stories, I'm like, well, dang, they've gone through some crazy shit too, but they're happy and they're loving life. And I think the more we can get these stories out there, the more it opens the door for other people to realize that they're not alone in this journey. There are other people out there that have struggled too, but are making incredible, wonderful lives. And so that's why we're here. That's what the conversation, I want us to kind of lean in that direction, but not be too formal with it. So you're still down for that?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. And I got to be careful because I can already feel like I'm getting this fucking podcasty voice like this. Okay, hey, you want to do that? So, oh, this is going to be fun.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
But no, and that's one thing, obviously we've known each other long enough that I'm just going to be real honest, raw. It's not going to be putting on any kind of fancy bullshit story, fakeness whatsoever. And if I catch myself doing it, I'm going to call it out, because obviously you have a podcast yourself, and I'm sure you listen to podcasts all the time, but two of my favorite podcasts to listen to are the Joe Rogan Experience and Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard. And that's kind of what I want to model the show around, is how they seem to do it. It's much more relaxed conversation, no BS. And Dax is one of my favorite people, just because he is so brutally honest and self-deprecating, like in a good way, not like, because you can put yourself in a really bad place if you're self-deprecating too much. But he just like, no bullshit. This is just me. This is who I am. I fuck up sometimes. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But for you specifically, one of the things that I remember early on was, when you shared your story, a big piece of it was the religious upbringing that you kind of went through, and having this vision of life, but maybe it not necessarily aligning with the religion that you were brought up in, and having to kind of break free from that and go down your own path. And I know there are definitely people out there who have religion as a big part of their life and their family's expectations, that this is what life you're supposed to live, or this is what you were brought up believing. Can you kind of share a little bit about your journey with religion and changing, your path, and how that all came about?
Yeah. Lucky you, because I'm now comfortable talking about this publicly.
I probably should have warned you, because I didn't want to talk too much about it before we got on here. Like, hey, would you talk about this? Would you talk about that? So
yeah, no, I love that you did that. And my religious upbringing, yes, Utah, Mormon, right? It's so typical. I mean, that's what Utah's known for, right? It was like, looking back on the journey now, it's really interesting, because I wasn't ever one who was like raised in a family that my parents were like, you have to go to church every Sunday. You need to do this. They weren't like shoving it down my throat like a lot of parents in this religion do. And maybe it's the same for all religions, but this was just my experience. I've never been in another religion, so I don't know. But my parents just never shoved it down my throat. I chose to go. And I've really been reflecting on this a lot lately, because I look back and I'm like, maybe because I chose to go, I took a lot of it to heart. Whereas my husband, we had this whole conversation where he's like, to go, right? Forced to like have his butt in that pew every Sunday. And he did not take it to heart. He was very upset. He was like, screw you. I'm going to do what I want anyways. I'm going to live life my own way. And me, I was a very by the book person. And so it's just like trying to live up to this completely unattainable standard for me. And the way that they twist how you should be thinking, natural human behavior is bad. It's made out to be bad. I mean, and let's go here, like sexual thoughts. Don't have them. Don't think about it. It's bad. It's a sin. Don't do it. Don't think about it. Like, just all of that you're always told. And so then you go through your life trying to keep your body covered, right? Don't wear short shorts. Don't wear this. Don't wear that, because we now can have an effect on men's thoughts. And because men aren't big boys, like they can't control their own thoughts, right? Like, right. And so there was just like all of this, don't trust yourself. That's not you. If you get an inkling, like that's God telling you what to do. It just, I don't know, all this stuff that now looking back, I just see how it led me to where I got to, of like not trusting myself. And then they wonder why, and this is just me speaking so brutally honest on all of my thoughts and feelings around it now, which doesn't help because I've been in a group therapy program and it's like been all about just rebuilding the relationship with yourself. But we've also got to face, so it's just funny that you asked this now, because we've also got to face what has had the biggest impact on our life and who we are today. And I got pissed. I was so pissed when I started writing out the effects that the church had on me personally. Now, again, this isn't me like saying if you are a Mormon or you're in the LDS church, like ditch it and run, because we all have our own perspective and this is mine. So, but if you're resonating with this, like decide for yourself. But looking back, it was like, don't trust yourself.
Please share it with your friends.
And then
give
suddenly,
us a 5-star rating on iTunes.
I was told sex before marriage was a sin next to murder. So for those of you who don't know my story, I got pregnant at 18. I was not married.
And sharing these messages with them just
and then was told it was a sin next to murder. Yet I still wanted to continue in this religion because it is like indoctrinated so deep to your core from the time you're 18 months old. And you just don't trust yourself. Trust God, trust the Holy Ghost. Like, put your trust everywhere else but in you. Try to be like Christ, be kind to others. And then you see other people who are complete assholes. And the end goal is the temple marriage, have kids, be a good mom, take care of everyone else. Men have needs. It's your job to fulfill those. And it's just like, forget yourself, basically, as a woman. And I feel like a lot of organized religion is very much this way of put yourself on the back burner and take care of the man. The man runs the house. He's in charge. That's it. Women shouldn't be in power. And so I took all of that to heart. I feel like I'm answering your question in a really roundabout way, and I've actually forgotten what the question was at this point. But like,
I don't know if there was a question. I was like, tell me about religion. And it's dawned on me too. It's like, wait a minute. I just literally started my podcast, the very first guest episode, with one of the hot button topics you're always supposed to never talk about, which is fucking religion. So I need to get somebody to talk about politics on the next episode. So we'll be good. Yes.
Right. But I think this is such a good conversation to open up, because this is one of those taboo topics that nobody is comfortable talking about. And it's taken me a very long time to talk about it openly, because we do have family who is still very deep in it.
Yeah.
And it is not an easy thing to step away from, because they use so much fear around the whole religion, right? It's like, oh, but if you're not living this way, like you're not going to be blessed. You're like, just something bad's going to happen. Just like, there's so much fear. So when we decided to step away, I was like, oh my gosh, my business is going to fail. I'm going to get struck by lightning. I'm like, and then of course the family has their opinions that they like to insert, which, looking back on that journey now, I have come to realize that that is them projecting their own fear.
Yeah.
And so it's because they're scared too, because that's how we're taught. Like, this is the only right way. If you don't live this way, you won't be blessed. You're not going to make it to heaven. You're not going to be with your family forever. It's just this whole fear tactic.
Yeah.
And so it's really scary to step away from. And then it was just like, we decided to step away. We quit paying tithing, because I'm like, I would rather donate to a charity I actually want to donate to, not like $1 billion business, because ultimately that is what the church is a business.
Yeah.
But I'm like, a week goes by and I'm like, okay, I haven't died. Like, we're all good. And then another week goes by.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you just slowly get more and more and more comfortable. But then now I've started looking at it like, oh my gosh, like my fear of judgment, because it's like, you're either right or you're wrong.
Yeah.
There's no gray area, And so it's like, then I worry a lot about what other people think. And then I'm like trying to do what I should do. And I'm trying to be the caretaker and the nurturer. But if I'm doing all the right things, my life does not feel good. And so then it starts to be like an unpacking of all the conditioning and what is shoulding, right? Like, stop shoulding on yourself, because there's nothing you should do. I mean, yeah, you should take care of your kids, you should take care of yourself, but like, you get to choose how you live your life. And if you choose not to do what you've been raised in, then that should be okay. And I feel like the thing that makes me so angry, you really did hit a hot topic here. But the thing that makes me so mad, is the gaslighting from family.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, if you don't go to church, then I'm done doing this. And I've seen, like, because my niece is down here going to college, and she actually has quit going to church as well. And she completely made that decision on her own. And then she had a couple friends who had decided their parents started gaslighting them. Well, if you're not going to be at church every Sunday, then we're done paying your tuition. We're not going to help you out with rent. And I'm like, tell me how that benefits anybody. Tell me how that helps your relationship. Tell me how that helps your kid. Like, we all get to figure ourselves out no matter what age we're at. And I think if there's like one purpose I feel like I want to serve in this world, helping people figure out what they want and how to get it. Because it doesn't have to look one way. It doesn't have to look a certain way. It doesn't have to be how you were raised. It doesn't have to be in the religion that you were raised in. But I'm not going to say that it's easy to step away from any of it, because it is so freaking hard, like so hard to do it. And it's taken a lot of years. I'm 7 years in and still struggling. So
I'm sure. Yeah, because that's a massive, and that was like the whole foundation you build your life on. And for those of you that have stuck through our religious chat so far, thank you. We appreciate you. But I think there's so many areas this carries over into life. It's not just about religion. It's about even just the old story of, hey, go to school, get a college degree and get this job and work this. We're all taught we have to do this. And parents, even I was just talking to somebody before we, start recording this episode here. She's a first generation American. Her parents were immigrants. They came to America. She was born here. They had the expectation, the whole thing of like lawyer, doctor, this is what you're going to do. And then when she wanted to take a gap year between, graduating from high school and going into college, they were like, oh, how dare you, And so it's not just religion that this relates to. There's so many areas of life that this mentality, rolls over into. So just breaking free from that, it can be such a challenge. And I commend you for finding what worked for you and just realizing, hey, there's something that's not working here for me. I've got to do something different. And that had to be a challenge, having a kid at 18. You're getting pregnant at 18 because you got pregnant at 18 or had the kid at 18?
I got pregnant at 18. I had her when I was 19. Okay. So yeah.
But so either way, I mean, you're right there at an extremely young age, not married yet. So that's totally against religion. So that's going to put you as this outcast already. And like I said, all that judgment starts coming in. And that was another piece of the puzzle that I wanted to kind of dive into. So I know I have heard your story, a bit, and I know you've shared that you really dove into, well, number one, it challenged the vision you had for life. You had these plans. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to get this degree, and this is going to be my life. And oh shit, now this is completely off the rails. And then once you kind of came to grips with that, you dove straight into, I'm just going to be mom, and I'm going to be the best mom I can be because, this is what I want to do. Kind of share a little bit of that with us, how that all went to play, because I know you also had a realization down the road too about, wait a minute, I got to take time for me. And that's something that unfortunately I don't see a lot of moms get to until the kids are literally graduated from high school. And then they're left like, wait, I just gave up my whole life for my kid, and they're trying to figure out what the fuck to do. You thankfully realized that much sooner, that, wait a minute, I can still love my kids, take care of them, and be me. So share a little bit about that, if you would.
Yeah. And I want to preface this with, I feel like it is so beneficial for your kids to see you have a life outside of them. That does not have to be running a business. That does not have to be a job. That can be a group of friends that you go out and have a girls' night once a week. That can be, going out and doing something that you enjoy, a hobby or whatever. So anything, because I feel like, when we do that, which is what I did, and I did go back to college. I did get the degree, and it still felt like shit. So I did do all the things. We did it all right. We bought the house. Yeah. Like we had the kids, we bought the house, and it felt like shit. And I was like, why? I have everything that I was taught to have. And I, pregnant at 18, baby at 19. It's interesting, and I'll talk about this in a minute too, just like even the relationship between my husband and I is, I put myself on the back burner. I took care of everyone else. I made sure everyone was happy. I made sure everybody's needs were met. And so it was interesting because my husband and I actually had this conversation a few days ago, and he was like, I don't remember the early years of our marriage being as bad as you remember them. And I said, but let's look at it this way. I put myself on the back burner. I took care of the kids. I took care of the house. I was also working a part-time job, and I took care of the bills. There was dinner on the table when you got home every night. Like, so here I am making sure that your needs were met. So of course you had a great life. Like I created that.
Perfect. What was wrong with this marriage? Yeah, that's for
Yeah. And yeah. And so it's just interesting to see how we all get to have our own perspective, and that's okay. And so going through that, and of course, me not really understanding at the time, but feeling that resentment and anger toward him growing. And so then, of course, it starts into like, how are we going to get out of this situation? Like, financially, we're strapped, we're living paycheck to paycheck. It sucks. And both of us were still working at the time. And I'm just like, we had talked about divorce in the early days of our marriage. And just we were babies having babies, and neither one of us had grown up. And I just remember one day I was like sitting on the living room floor, and we had 2 kids at this point, and my second child was like the hardest toddler. So she's like crying in my lap, and I just like burst into tears, and I was like, there has to be a better way. This is not what I signed up for, and this is not what I'm going to stay in for the rest of my life. Because I think a lot of times what happens is we're doing what we think we should. It doesn't feel good. We don't know why. But then we don't realize the power we have. We're just like, well, this is just it. This is just like, you hear people tell you like, oh, this too shall pass. Or you see in movies, the hot mess mom on the chaos train constantly. And you're like, okay, this is just how mom life is. This is just how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And so then you just accept that as truth. And I'm a very stubborn person. And I've always been a very motivated person with a bigger idea of what life could be. And so it was like, I would watch these shows and I would see like the rich people and I'd be like, I want to be like them. Yeah. But then of course, like then you're taught, oh, rich people are assholes. Money's the root of all evil. Be humble, live within your means. And so then you start to have those thoughts, and then the shame creeps in. Well, shame is no place to try to create anything new from. And so then we just continue in that perpetual pattern of being a victim to our circumstance, thinking that there's no way out, thinking that we can't do it differently because this is just how it's supposed to be, and we just accept it.
Yeah.
And I finally hit that point where I was like, I am done just accepting that this is how it is for the rest of my life. Because if I had to live my life like this for the rest of my life, what would I have in the end? I would not be married still. I can guarantee you that. Our relationship would have failed so fast. And the only thing that kept me in it during that time was like clinging to this freaking idea that we learned in adult roles in high school. Most marriages fail at 7 years. Like I thought somehow at the 7-year mark, a rainbow was going to appear, Skittles were going to fall from the sky, and suddenly my relationship was going to be magically happy. Like
it didn't work out that way.
It was no, dang it! Like,
come on,
right? And so I think that's what a lot of us do. And I don't even want to speak just to the moms, because I think that men maybe get stuck in this role of I need to provide. I need to be the provider. And then when you're stuck in a shitty circumstance, it's like, well, I can't switch jobs because this is paying the bills. I can't dive into this because this is paying the bills. And so let's look at this from both, because I know you have a lot of men in your audience too, but just looking at that from, let's look at both roles here.
Yeah.
It's the same situation. It's the same being stuck in your circumstance. It's the same shooting all over yourself. And then just thinking, this is how life is. And is that how you want to live for 80 years and then die? And then when your kids move out, like you and your husband don't even have a relationship because you've just dove into the kids and taking care of everybody else and forget me and who I am. And then suddenly you hit that point and you're like, oh, I don't think I've talked to my partner in 18 years.
Yeah.
Who are you? Hello.
Yeah.
Now you're suddenly in a house by yourself together and you don't know who each other are. And so these are like the thoughts that kind of started spinning around. And then I remember it's actually the Boss Babes. So, I mean, this was like years later even. And we could talk about the earlier journey of like, I started into journaling and then I found like personal development books and podcasts, and it just like slowly evolved over time, and then coaching. But I remember I was on a Boss Babe call and one of them had said they bring in people to like talk once a month. They do like this monthly mindset thing. And she said, you can either live in the hard or you can do the hard work, but the time's going to pass anyways. And I think we've heard that like several other places. And I think I remember hearing that in other places, but it never hit me until that day. And I was like, shit.
Yeah.
Because this freaking sucks.
Yeah.
So what's the hard work that I have to do? And that's kind of what I started asking myself, like, what is the work? I think that with personal development and building a business, a lot of people are like, oh, well, if I just do more things, be more productive, then on the other end of that, I'm going to be happier. I'm going to have the success. But what if it's about who you're being as a person and you get to decide who you be?
Yeah.
And you get to figure that out
all the time.
Yeah. Then you start to find yourself again. And then you start to debunk all the shit stuff that you were taught as a kid. And I'm going to say this. Do not blame your parents. Like, it is not their fault. They were doing the best they could with what they had. And as teenagers, yes, we were jackasses and we liked to blame our parents for everything. But then you have your own kids and then you start raising yourself and you're like, can we remove this curse?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to raise me. But then the whole concept of like, you do the best you can with what you have. But I think a lot of times we just forget the power that we have within ourselves, that we get to choose how we show up and who we want to be in our life. And we can change our circumstance at any time. You're not stuck. You're not ever stuck. So if you're living your worst case scenario, choose different.
Yeah. I think it comes back to our parents, but it's not their fault. But we just mirror so much of what we see with them and the people around us. And we see that, well, this is the life. This is how life is supposed to be, because this is what we've seen day in, day out. You go to work, you do these hard things, even though we in the back of our heads know something different. It's just not right. Like you said, you knew, it was like, this is just not right. This is not how I want to live my life. For myself, my dad was a coal miner. So he was like literally backbreaking type work. He had 2 or 3 back surgeries. That's what eventually led him into the alcoholism, because it was taking pain pills, drinking beer to, deal with the back pain. So I see this vision, and it was just like, that's not who I want to be. I was always like more of a nerdy computer kid. I was into them from as soon as they came out. And you could, I literally had the old modem. Well, I didn't get one because they wouldn't let me fucking get one. Radio Shack, the guy there talked my mom out of it. It's like, damn you. But it was like the old modems where you literally had the receivers and you would like set it on the suction cup things. I was going to get one. And the guy's like, no, he doesn't need this. There's nothing on the internet yet. Like, this was long before the internet was like what it is today. But I was like, I just knew there was something different. But this is all I see. This is what my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, everybody, they all do these hard jobs. And so that's where I struggled so much. That's when I started getting in trouble, because I'm like, well, this is what life tells me I'm supposed to be, but I don't want to be that. So I have to numb myself so I can do this shit. And it wasn't until I finally started seeing other people doing, getting that first job where I got to do something different. Like, wait a minute, I can go over here and I don't have to do the backbreaking work and I don't have to do this. But yeah, it's not our parents' fault.
Yeah.
Like we said, they were just doing the best that they possibly could. They just did what they were taught, and until we see somebody that breaks free from that, then that's when we can like, well, wait a minute, they broke free. I can break free. We can do something different. What? We can make a choice. Oh my God. And that's so important. So for you, was there, you said, you kind of slowly got into personal development. Was there a specific moment, any specific incident where it kind of shifted for you, where like that you can kind of remember, this was when I started the personal development journey specifically?
Yeah. I'll say 2 things here. The first is, I'll tell you the story. We were at a family barbecue and my sister-in-law, we were just kind of talking, and all of a sudden she just looked at me and she was like, "You're not happy." And I was like, "What?" Because I thought I was doing a really good job at like putting on that smiley face and showing up for the thing, I thought I was doing a really good job. And apparently not, because she saw right through it. And so that was like one moment that I was like, okay, I probably need to like admit this to myself, right? Like, I feel like a lot of times
it's pretty bad if somebody else is seeing it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think a lot of times we're like aware, but then we kind of like throw our arms in the air, like, well, what can I do about it? Right. We put ourselves back in that stuck. So then the second kind of like me finally drawing that line in the sand was just me deciding. It was honestly like, I would love to say it was just like this magical moment and like I just knew, but it was like I just got pissed, like
Yeah.
real pissed. And I was like, this freaking sucks. I'm not living like this forever. There has to be a better way. And so to me, that was like drawing my line in the sand. And there is a difference. I've talked about this all week on my Instagram, which is so funny, but like there's a difference between wanting and deciding.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's great to sit in your situation and be like, wouldn't it be nice if, oh, it would be so nice if I could do that. Oh, what if I was there? And it's like, so freaking decide and decide what you're no longer available to. This is the energy I'm honing this week of
Yeah.
what am I no longer available for? And you get to decide that at any given moment in time. And so it was like me just being pissed off, hating life, over living paycheck to paycheck. I was like, screw it. I'm done. There has to be a better way. And it was like just kind of this energy of like, come hell or high water, I will figure this out
Yeah.
and see where it leads, because where I'm leading right now, I don't like.
Yeah.
Try something new.
I love that. And it's interesting too, because so many people hate the idea of hitting rock bottom, you
Mhm.
know, but I almost think rock bottom is a beautiful freaking place, because when you hit rock bottom, that's when you decide to change. When you're living an okay life, one that's
Yeah.
not great, but it's not terrible, that's one of the worst places, because you're never going to fucking change when that's the case. You're like, well, I'm making decent money. I don't hate my boss. He's a jackass or whatever, you know, or the
Yep.
marriage isn't, I mean, they're not beating me, or she's not cheating on me, or this or that. But like, that's not what the fuck life's about, man. Life's about loving your fucking life. And not every fucking second are you going to be magically thinking everything's perfect, but at
Right.
least waking up excited about your life most of the time, and enjoying what you're doing, and like I
Yeah.
say, not having where people can literally be like, hey, you don't look happy. That's not what we're here
Yeah.
for. So
No. And yeah. And celebrate. Like, if you feel that inkling of, I feel like I'm meant for more, you probably are. Like,
yeah,
listen to that.
well, and that's really what I want to get across in this show is, if you're here listening to this and you know there's something different in your life, even if you haven't seen it in your friends, your family, this, you know, we met in a community of like-minded people, and that's
Yeah.
what I learned, you know, back in 2014 when I went to that very first Tony Robbins event that I went to that transformed my life. It was getting in a community of different people like, oh, fuck, this is what it's supposed to be like. Yes, these are my fucking people. You know, it was
Yeah.
like I used to joke that like this is the planet I was supposed to be born on. And then I remember even saying to somebody at one of the other Tony Robbins events that I'd gone to a couple years after that first one, I was like, man, if this is a cult, pour me another glass of Kool-Aid because I like it. You know, I don't fucking care. It was like
Right.
I could understand why people would become cults if that was what life was like. I want to live that life, and I'm fine if everybody outside of this room thinks we're all a bunch of fucking idiots and thinks we're dumb and it's whatever. Like, I'm in this room and I see how happy we all are and how we're all going out living incredible, wonderful lives. Are they perfect? No, but we love waking up every day and we're excited about what we're trying to accomplish in life. And I'm fine if that's a fucking cult. So
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
have, like you said, yeah, if you have this inkling, follow that, follow that instinct, find yourself a community, find people that you can surround yourself with that are different than the people you're with. And it's nothing bad against the people that you're spending time with right now. Maybe they just haven't seen it. Maybe they don't believe it's true for them either.
Yeah.
You have to maybe be that first person that gets outside of the bubble and says, hey, look, like you did with the religion, like, hey, look, it's okay out here. I didn't die.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, what's funny is that's what I always had to ask myself, but did I die? Like, you would try something new, right? And you'd wake up the next day and I was like, I didn't die. Okay.
It's all
And
good.
it's like, it seems so silly, but it's almost like if you think about the brain and the way that it's designed for survival, it's designed to keep us safe. Well, and familiar equals safe, right? So
Yeah.
anytime we start to step out of that comfy zone, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. But it's like, it's so scared. But then that's where you also have another choice is, are you going to continue to let fear be in the driver's seat? Or are you going to throw fear in the back seat and you take the wheel back? Like, we can't just keep letting fear and doubt drive, because you're going to hit the end of your life. And this just, like, I didn't even think I was going to go here, but like my dad, right? My dad got hit by a car last year, and you suddenly realize how fast a life can be taken away from you.
Yeah.
And even on his deathbed, he was apologizing for being a shit father, for not trying harder, for not. And so it was just, you're going to hit the end of your life, as morbid as that sounds, and you're going to look at all these what ifs. It's like, wouldn't you rather have just like tried that thing, tried to create a different life? Even if you failed at it, wouldn't it feel good trying? And eventually you're going to hit the success that you're after.
Yeah.
But you have to keep going. You have to stay the course, like climb the mountain. You just, I think I have more of a fear of hitting the end of my life with all these what ifs.
Yeah.
Than I do being content with just where I'm at.
Yeah. I've always
because
said,
I have hit that point.
I've always said the worst thing anybody could possibly say about me when I die is he had so much potential, and I'm not trying to live up to anybody else's standard, but just that they could see that there was so much more that I could have done that I wanted to do or whatever else, but that I just sat around on my ass. And if that's what I choose to do, that's fine. But if you have this calling in you, if you have this desire to do more, then fucking do it. Like, so yeah, I don't want to get to the end of my life and regret anything, or more regret not trying something. I would much rather say, well, I tried it, I fucked it up, didn't work, oh damn, but I at least learned from it, and I moved on. This whole idea of just playing it safe, oh man, I wish I could remember what there's a meme that I love, but it talks about life isn't meant to be survived unscathed. You're supposed to be sliding into home base, something, I forget what it is, just it's all crazy, like with the skin of your pants or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was, but just something about that, where just live your life, enjoy it, and stop worrying about what the fuck everybody else thinks. Stop worrying about if you're gonna look like an idiot. I probably look like an idiot half the time. I don't fucking care anymore. I used to fall into that whole trap, and I realized, I don't want to say too late, but much later than it would have been nice to have, realize it doesn't fucking matter at the end of the day. These people that truly love you are going to love you for you, whether you're doing stupid shit or not. The people that are going to judge you, they're not trying the cool stuff. They're not trying to live their life out there and doing these fun things. That's the only reason they're standing there judging you, because anybody who's living a life to the fullest and living their best life is trying shit and failing all the fucking time, and they get it. So they're like supporting, like, yeah, you go, motherfucker.
Yeah. Yep. That's what, is it Brene Brown that's like, if you're not in the ring, like, don't share your opinion, because you're not the one in there doing it. And if you're judging, let's hold a mirror up. We're holding a mirror up. If you're judging yourself right now, you're honestly, we're here to hold a mirror up to each other and show ourselves where the work is at.
Yeah.
And so if you find yourself judging somebody, I still judge people. Like, I'm not going to lie about that, but then I'll take a step back and I'll be like, oh shit, where am I not playing bigger? Yeah. Where am I not doing this? Where have I wanted to do this and now they're doing it and I should have done it in the first place?
Yeah.
But I didn't. And that's my fault. That's on me. And so it's like, whenever you just like feel that judgment on others, ask yourself, where am I not doing that? Where am I not feeling that? Where is that need not being met within me? Because that's the work.
Yeah, no,
that's the work.
I kind of fall into the same trap where I'll judge somebody, but I'm thankfully very good at catching it really quickly and saying, that's okay. That's them doing their thing. And yeah, back to the Brene Brown quote that you were talking about. It's probably built off of the Teddy Roosevelt quote, the man in the arena. And it's just goes back to, it's not the critic's voice that counts. It's the person that's the man in the arena, or woman, or what. Well, we're not going down gender roles right now. I don't want to get that fucking hot topic yet.
Oh no, we're not.
We're not going there.
No,
there, man. No.
I got a lot to say there. Don't get me started.
But yeah, and same. But it's the person who's doing it. That's the only person I halfway give a shit what they think, because they're there. They know what this battle's like. They know what it's like to be in there knee deep in this mess. And I value their opinion because they can give me a firsthand perspective. The person just sitting outside watching what's going on and watching everybody do their thing, I'll pass. And what is it? There was also a quote. I don't know who said it, but have you ever noticed they never made any statues of critics? It's always the people that go out, doing the thing, but they never make statues of critics. Wonder why that is.
Yeah.
They didn't do a fucking thing in their life.
You haven't done anything great. You're sitting there judging others for doing what you want to do.
Exactly.
So just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Exactly. Just do it. So with that, is there any, other than just do it, is there any piece of advice that you would give anybody who is just wanting more out of their life? Specifically, is there any like one specific lesson, let's maybe go there, that you would really kind of share with people who are in that doubt? I know there's more for me in life. I know I want more out of life than what's here right now. Just what advice would you share with them?
Figure it out. Like, sit down with a notebook and just get it all out. And this is what I always think of. And it's funny because I had a podcast interview earlier today, and this, like, the same thing popped into her head, and it actually just popped into my head when you asked me that question. But like, journaling, I think we underestimate the power of a written sentence, a written word. And I always look at, I've started to apply this like to the body and all the negative energy that we also hold on to and the stories and beliefs. But if you imagine your body as a jar and it's got a lid on it and it's screwed on tight and you have all these fireflies flying around, these are your negative thoughts. These are the energy that you've been hanging on to, the stories, the limiting beliefs, the fears, the doubts. They're just like bouncing everywhere. There's no more room for anything else. But when you sit down with a notebook and you start to write it all out, your fears and doubts lose their power, because now it's just a written word on a paper, right? It's just a sentence. It's just words that have been bouncing around in you. And when you allow yourself to release that, well, what happens when you unscrew the lid of a jar? All the fireflies fly out, right? Mm-hmm. You have now opened up more space for new ideas, new creativity to like flow in, space for new people. Maybe you need to get the negative energy of the people that you're surrounding yourself with out of your life. And now you have just opened up so much space for fireflies to come in that shine a little brighter. And then when the negative thoughts start creeping back in, you get to work through it again. And so that is just like one thing that I always tell people. It's like, don't carry it. It's really heavy to carry all the time. It's really heavy to carry the negative things you're saying about yourself, to carry the negative thoughts that you're having about your life and about your circumstance. And it's really heavy to carry that victimhood, that thinking that there's no way out, because there's always a way out, but you've got to unpack what is weighing you down. And so stop carrying around fireflies that you don't need to carry anymore. Just let them all out, get them all out on paper. And as you start to do that over and over and over again, you're going to find repetitive patterns in the things that you're writing. And you're also going to start to find the real you, what you want, your desires, like who you are. And that's where you start. That is where you start. It is not about doing, it is about being. Yeah. And recognizing who you are inside and what you're carrying around, because you don't have to carry it all anymore.
No, I love that. Yeah. And journaling is such a powerful exercise because it's a truly unfiltered thought process. You don't have anybody judging it whatsoever. It's just you being able to say anything you want to say. And for the guys out there, I say this all the time when I'm preaching about journaling. It's not you writing like your diary, like your little girl. It's okay. You can journal your thoughts and your emotions. And if it's anything that you're worried about anybody reading somewhere down the road, somewhere later, just take blank sheets of paper or a notebook. And then when you're done journaling, whatever it is you need to get out, take it, wad it up, burn it, throw it away, do whatever. You can destroy it, because there's things that I've had, like, I don't want anybody to ever read this. So I'm going to destroy this page, but I need to get it physically out of me somehow. So I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Before we wrap this up, Amanda, share with the audience if you've got anything going on that you want them to know about right now and where they can find you on anywhere. how they can connect with you.
Yes. You could, yeah. I am on Instagram the most at Amanda Clark Studios. My website is amandaclark.biz. I also have a podcast called Braving the Mountain, and I actually hang out there a lot too. I drop 3 episodes a week, 3 to 4 right now. So it's mainly geared toward moms. So for the women in the audience, same concepts apply to men, but but hey, if you want to understand a woman's brain a little bit more, like that might be a good podcast for a lot of men to listen to. Like I talk about mine and my husband's relationship a little bit. Yeah, like the hard conversations that we have. But yeah, and then for anybody interested, I offer breathwork. And I know, James, that you have done breathwork with me before, but I offer a free integrative breathwork session for anybody who's like wanting another form of letting the fireflies go. Then that would be it.
And I'll attest to the breath work. It was very cool. It was very, because I do meditation, and it's, similar. Obviously, they're very similar things, but having that person kind of walk you through it and help guide you through the process, live, interactive, is so much different. I have my phone, I have apps on there, and it's got some random Joe Schmo on there doing whatever, and it's fine, but there's a disconnect almost, when it's that. So when you've got a live person, even if it's through a Zoom call or whatever, it's still, you're so much more present because you're with that person live. There is a human connection. So I would strongly encourage people, check it out. It's well worth it. So
thank you.
So Amanda, thank you so much for being my guinea pig today. I don't think we crashed and burned too bad. I think it went pretty well. So hopefully the listeners enjoy it. And all right, everybody, get out there, have an amazing fucking day, and we'll see you next time.
If you found value in this episode, please share it with your friends. Give us a 5-star rating on iTunes and anywhere else that you happen to hear it. We are just trying to celebrate life, make it better for everyone, and sharing these messages with them just helps them believe in themselves and what can be better than that.